Have you ever been too scared to try something just because you were afraid of failing? What if I told you that failure is exactly what will get you where you want to be right now? Imagine you're a pilot, about to land in a storm. The wind is hitting you from the side, rain is beating against the windows, and every nerve in your body is tense. But you know this moment will show if you can truly fly, or if you were only able to control the plane in good weather. Our failures are exactly like this. They're not our enemies, but a test from life that shows us what's really inside us. Today we're talking about how to turn your biggest fears into your greatest strengths. We're talking about how to become someone who isn't strong because they never fall, but because they get up stronger every time they do fall. Because here's the truth: failure won't define you, how you respond to it will. Most people see failure as a wall that blocks their path to success. But this is a totally wrong way to look at it. Failure is actually a door. It's a door that only those who are willing to face what's behind it can open. Every successful person's story is full of times when it seemed like the end, when everything fell apart around them. But it wasn't these moments that made them successful. It was how they learned and built from these moments. Take Thomas Edison's story, for example. When he was working on inventing the light bulb, he had over 1,000 failed attempts. When a reporter asked him how it felt to fail 1,000 times, Edison replied, "I have not failed 1,000 times. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." This way of thinking is what separates the average from the amazing. Failure is mainly information. It's clear, unfiltered feedback about what works and what doesn't. When you fail, reality is telling you, this approach won't get you where you want to be. But many people take this as a personal attack, as if the world is saying, you're not good enough. The difference between these two ways of understanding determines whether failure breaks you or lifts you up. Now, let's talk about how to change your relationship with failure. First, understand that failure is not your enemy, but a tool for your growth. Every time something doesn't go as planned, you have a chance to learn something new about yourself and the world. The question is not whether you avoid failure, because you won't, but whether you can get the value it holds from it. The next time you fail, stop for a moment. Don't rush past it. Don't try to bury it under pain. And don't try to explain it away. Face it. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Every failure can teach 3 important things. First, it shows you where your weaknesses are. Second, it reveals what skills you still need to develop. Third, it strengthens your inner resilience. Resilience, or mental toughness, is not something you're born with. It's like a muscle. It gets stronger with practice. Every time you overcome a difficulty, you become a little stronger. But this only happens if you work on it on purpose. If you only suffer after every failure but don't learn, then you're not growing. You're just repeating the same mistakes. Another key thing is how you see things. Not doing well is never the end of your story, just one part of it. Think of your life like a long book. Not doing well is like a tough chapter that makes the whole story exciting and special. In the stories of the greatest heroes, there are always times when it seems like everything is lost. These times make the final win truly worth it. If you're always afraid of not doing well, you'll live a life where you never use all of your abilities. It's like driving a fancy car but never shifting out of first gear because you're scared of going too fast all of a sudden. Fear promises safety, but it really just traps you in being average. Imagine that when you're 40, you look back at your life and see that you always took the safe path. You never started that business, never applied for that dream job, never told that person you loved them. You're sitting there looking at a life that isn't yours, but your fears. This is the price that fear of not doing well demands. You don't just lose success, you lose life itself. Now you understand why you've been afraid of not doing well until now. Because you were probably taught that not doing well is bad, shameful, and to be avoided. But that's like being told that gymnastics is bad because you'll fall. Of course you'll fall. That's part of learning. The question isn't whether you'll fall, but whether you're willing to get back up again and again until you get it right. Now let's talk about specific strategies. When you fail, the first step is to accept your feelings. It's normal to feel angry, sad, or disappointed. These feelings aren't signs of weakness, they're just human reactions. Allow yourself to feel them, but don't stay stuck there. After you've felt your emotions, start looking at the situation. Write down everything that happened. What choices did you make? Under what circumstances? What could you have done differently? But be careful. It's not about blaming yourself, but about understanding what happened. It's like a scientist analyzing an experiment, not to blame themselves, but to better understand the process. Then look for patterns. If you look back at your past failures, do you see things that keep happening? Maybe you always make decisions too fast, or you take on too much at once, or you don't listen enough to your gut feelings. These patterns give you important information about where you still need to grow. The next step is to make a plan of action. What will you do differently next time? What new skills do you need to learn? Who can you ask for help? Failure only becomes a chance to learn if you make real changes based on what you've learned. Here's an important idea. The most successful people aren't the ones who never fail, but the ones who learn fastest from their failures. They build a system that allows them to quickly process negative experiences and turn them into positive change. Think of it as what you might call a failure portfolio. Every successful investor has a portfolio where some investments do well and others don't. But the overall result is positive because the good investments make up for the bad ones. Life works in a similar way. Not every attempt you make will be successful, but if you learn more from each failure than you lose, you'll be a winner in the long run. Another important part of failure is that it helps you clear up your priorities. When everything is going well, it's easy to get too comfortable and lose sight of what's truly important to you. Failure is like a cold shower that brings you back to reality. It shows you what you really want to fight for and what was just an outside expectation. Many people are afraid of failure because they think others will judge them. But the truth is, most people are too busy with their own problems to care about your failures. And those who do judge are usually the ones who never dared to take risks, never tried anything important. Their opinion doesn't matter. Actually, failure is like a filter that shows you who your real friends and supporters are. Those who stand by you during tough times are the ones who deserve your trust. Those who are only there when everything is perfect are not true relationships. Now let's talk about how to build a mindset that sees failure as a chance to grow. First, start looking at every challenge like a game. In games, it's normal for not every try to be a win. In fact, the game is exciting because there's some risk. If every try was a win, it would be boring. Second, make a list of how your past failures have helped you. How did they make you stronger, wiser, or lead to better opportunities? The next time you fail, remember this list. It reminds you that the pain is only for a little while, but what you learn lasts forever. Third, get into the habit of creating value from failure. After every failure, ask yourself, how can this experience help others? Maybe you can write a blog post about it or share your experiences with someone who is in a similar situation. When your failures become valuable to others, it turns the pain into a purpose. Remember, the impact of failure isn't always clear right away. Often, months or even years later, you realize that something you thought was a failure was actually the best thing that could have happened to you. Maybe you didn't get a job, but that led you to find an even better opportunity. Maybe a relationship ended, but that allowed you to find the person who truly fits you. Failure often redirects you to a path you never would have chosen on purpose, but which ultimately makes you happier. It's like your GPS recalculating because of a traffic jam and taking you on a beautiful side road you never would have discovered otherwise. And here's the most important message. You are not your failures. You are how you respond to them. Every morning when you wake up, you have a choice. You can choose to see yourself as a victim or as a warrior. You can choose to see yesterday's failure as an obstacle or as fuel for tomorrow's success. Life isn't about avoiding difficulties. It's about becoming the kind of person who can face any difficulty. It's about developing an inner strength that doesn't depend on what happens around you, but on how you respond to what happens. When you embrace failure as a chance to learn, you develop a superpower that not many people have, the ability to live without fear. It's not because bad things won't happen, but because you know that no matter what bad things happen, you'll be able to get something good from them and stand up stronger. This is the knowledge that truly sets you free. You no longer have to worry about what might happen, because you know that whatever life brings, you're ready for it. This is the basis of real self-confidence, not that you will always win, but that you will always learn. So the next time you fail, remember this moment. Remember that this is not your end, but your beginning. The beginning of becoming something better, the beginning of becoming stronger, the beginning of becoming a person who is not afraid of life but welcomes all its challenges with open arms. Failure is not your enemy. Failure is your teacher. And now it's time to start learning from it. Remember, failure isn't the end, it's the beginning. Every failure brings you closer to the person you want to be. Tell yourself every day, failure doesn't weaken me, it teaches and strengthens me. If you found this video inspiring, give it a like, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who is struggling right now. See you in the next video, where we'll build together the mindset that leads to success and inner freedom.